Let's fix that. There we go. How's that now? I don't know why this was muted. That's weird. There should be talking now. There should be stuff now. Ideally. There's the audio. Okay, sorry about that. No, turns out I had to use the restroom, and I was stuck in there for a good bit of time because I'm lactose intolerant, and since Pam has started a pizza delivery service, guess what food we've had recently in higher amounts than my digestion is really equipped for. So yeah, there's your TMI for the day. I didn't want to start the stream on the toilet, even for those of you who might have for some reason wanted that. You're weird? No, I'm not doing that. Also, this is brought up for a completely separate article, but yeah, we're going to be doing something interesting later. This is the article we're looking at today. But I'm glad that this is finally working now. Anyway, updates. I guess we might as well go ahead and do updates. So first of all, if you've noticed, all the channel art has been updated thanks to Gaelic Knox. There's a few more things I'm going to be purchasing. I need to go ahead and get... I don't want to spoil too much, but let's just say that I've only ever been able to slam my head with the hammer on a live stream before, and hopefully after I get paid on the 15th and can purchase more avatars, then I'm actually going to be able to start doing that in actual... like on the actual channel itself with my avatar now. Just ideally being able to do more animations with the avatar. That said... What's the other really important thing that happened? Oh, yeah, yesterday. So, for those of you who didn't happen to see yesterday's video, thank you. Oz, recently, he's a Discord user who recently became a $50 patron. We have another user named Sean, who me and him had a bit of a joke together, and he said that his character avatar on Discord was Greg from Steven Universe. And I made a joke about, the religion of Drive My Van Into Your Heart, which is the really freaking cringy song that he sings in the show. And finally, he asked how much would it cost over Patreon for me to sing that song. I didn't actually give a number there. But as it turns out, on my Patreon page, I completely forgot about this because I've never had a $50 Patreon before, but I actually had a part on my Patreon page where you get to choose one video a month that I do if you pay $50 per video per Patreon thing. Basically, you get to control the channel for one day. So, needless to say, Oz took advantage of that, and I guess thus took advantage of me. That sounds weird. That's creepy. And he decided that was what he wanted to do. And Smitty, I understand. I know, believe me. I actually was debating on if I wanted to do the ska version of that song from the final episode. But I opted to do the original because it matches my voice more. I'm not a very confident singer. Greg was not a confident singer. Put it all together, and there we go. But all of Greg's songs are low-key cringe. I don't think it's low-key cringe. It's quite cringy. But I figured that, why not? We also got another $50 patron as well. And they've requested that I focus a little more on Dangers of Woo. That's their video request. So I guess those are your two sides of the coin that you might get. You get the side of the coin that says, let me abuse my power. And then you've got the side of the coin that says, hey, here's the type of video that I like seeing on your channel. Do more of that. So there's your two sides of the coin for $50 patrons. Some are chaotic evil and some are closer to good alignments. But Cirrus is not dissimilar to the character in the show. Yeah, I'm even balding too. It's awkward. It's not very good. I can see that heading on the screen and have already begun to refill my glass. Yeah. Now the song was rather silly, but I don't mind because the way I see it, if you guys are paying my bills, then I will do what you ask of me at that point. Like, within reason, of course. I'm not gonna give you a video on Pornhub or something. That's a bit much. I'm not gonna do that. But 5 minutes in and we have not addressed the elephant in the room, which is, of course, right there. Why God's identification of male is the key to understanding life's meaning. So I can already see the polytheists in the room getting a little upset. Ronald says, I want sexy Sarah's time. No. I should have done the Super Bowl halftime show. It would have been better than what we got. We got 5 seconds of Sweet Victory and then just like completely nixed it randomly, destroying everybody who wrote on that petition. Josiah says, how much would it take for Sarah's porn? More than I'm worth as an individual. So no, not doing that. Although I will say that I have a very active artwork and fan art channel on my Discord, and I'm 90% certain that somebody has already started drawing that. So whether I want you to have that or not, it's probably on the internet somewhere. Rule 34 is a thing, and it's a scary thing. I've already been Rule 63. There's no escaping any other rule for the internet. Rule 88 and Rule 63 already happened to me. So if any of the fan art people are listening, don't do that, and I understand that means that you guys are going to do that. I can't stop you. Are we allowed to commission Sarah's Rule 34? Asking for a friend. I cannot tell you what to do with your money. I cannot. And I can't tell you... Oh, okay. We just got a new subscriber. Awesome. Thank you, Michael, if you're listening in on the stream. I'm going to turn that volume down. That was very loud in my ears. But I'm not going to tell you that Gaelic Knox has open commissions. I'm not going to tell you that Turning Tide Studio has open commissions. And I'm not going to tell you that Little Rabbit, who is also another user on my Discord, also has open commissions. I'm not going to tell you those things. I'm just going to tell you that they're there and that I cannot control anything. I give up. I've learned at this point that just being an animated avatar on the internet means that all the weird shit's going to happen to me. So, yeah, I guess the weird shit's just going to happen to me. Period. There's no real if, ands, or buts about it. Fenno, no, Rule 88 is not Nazi-esque. Rule 88 is that if it exists, there's furry art of it. And there are currently 2 furry arts. Knox, $20 donations. Please buy better food.
Please buy better food, you dork.
God damn it. Oh my god. Aren't I supposed to be paying you money for commissions? You're not supposed to be paying me money? Okay, that's... Anywho. Jeebus. Okay, so there's a reason that I wanted to do this article. A very, very specific reason. And it's not actually this, because this I can just read as like misogynistic bullshit, whatever. There's a particular line I saw as I was skimming through the article, because that's what I do with these things, is I skim through them and go, that might be worthwhile and that might not be worthwhile. But let's go ahead and type in command. Here we go. Here is the reason why I decided to do this article. Also, Gaelic says, you've got to be alive to buy art. For me, it's a win-win. Fair. Says, in other words, being cisgender is not just a privilege, as some call it, but it is, in fact, the command of God. So, reading this right here made me want to go through this entire fucking article, whatever else I might find in it. So, aside from that little bit of skimming, as usual, I'll be going through this stuff fresh. And yeah, if you're a polytheist, you can already see why this is a little problematic, considering that, Freya exists in polytheism. There are female gods in polytheism, and I may be an atheist, so I don't espouse or think any of them exist in any way outside of an abstract method. But I can still see why something like this is just fundamentally problematic. It's stupid. It also craps on monolateralists as well. So, neat. Commissions pay for my bachelor's degree in food, sweet, glorious food. Yeah, everybody likes food. Athena's an obvious one as well. Furries can't be killed with fire. No, furries can't be killed. Furries just are. If you've ever been to an anime convention, the furries, they just are. Granted, they're some of the nicest people you'll meet, but they just are. They exist, and there's nothing you can do about it, especially on the internet. So, let's go ahead and hop right in to the article. I wonder, I just thought about this. What if we just responded to this person by sending him furry art of Yahweh and saying, yeah, Yahweh can be male, but he's also furry? That would, I imagine the person who wrote this article would be incredibly disturbed. Fucking Aphrodite. Yeah, there's that too. Okay. So, let us begin. Is the only reason God identified in the Bible as masculine, with masculine titles such as father, husband, son, and king, and not also as mother, wife, daughter, and queen because of the misogynist and patriarchal times the Bible was written in? So those times were more misogynistic and patriarchal, but I don't think that's exclusively the reason why. Mainly because we had female gods before Christianity. Like, Christianity is not a new thing, and it's certainly not an old thing either. It's like a weird middle child. Most polytheisms are older than it, and it is not even the oldest of the monotheisms. So, yeah, no, that's... I might have to actually get somebody who's a little more well-versed in history to help with that, but I think that it's not just because those times were more misogynistic. Were they more misogynistic? Yes. But many non-Christians, and sadly even professing Christians today, would have us believe this. Well, again, even I as an atheist can't really ascertain that one way or another, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that might be a straw man. But let's continue. I'd let a furry babysit my kids before I'd let a priest do it. Yeah, I would too. I mean, really, what's a furry going to do? Show them DeviantArt? Like, yeah, there's some disturbing stuff on DeviantArt, but that's probably the worst you have to deal with. On the other hand, we have the Bible-believing conservative Christians who tell us that everything is created in woman that sets her off from the man and comes from God and reflects something of him. God is not a male, God is not a female, and yet God's self-chosen titles matter. This is a lot like that video I did on Biscuit where he said that Allah is not male but he, and I just stopped the video and I'm just like, Allah is not male but he? Do you realize what you did there? Also, by the way, the entire argument from biology for God doesn't matter. It would just be a matter of identity. Like, even if I were just like, not espousing, but just like granting everything. God doesn't have biology by definition, so he couldn't be biologically male or female. He would have an identity, so whatever he self-identified as. So yeah, I guess it does matter that, you know, God has a chosen title of male or female, but at the same time, it's like, focusing on it just seems like you're trying to give God a dick, and that's it. So that's just me. Loki turned himself into a female horse and got impregnated by an ice giant stallions. Gods can be transmuted gender. To be fair, there's people who don't identify one way or another, but I still don't mind gendered pronouns. I mean, yeah, there are people who don't identify. For instance, I have a friend who is gender fluid. I've known her for like 9, 10 years, something like that. Some obnoxiously long amount of time. And it's only because I've known her for that long that she's basically said, you could just go ahead and it's simple, just use she. Regardless of whether or not she's in male state or female state or anywhere in between, I have pretty much blanket permission to just use she at that point. Same with Pam. Pam is gender fluid as well, but we pretty much just blanket she because it is convenient for us. So it also helps that I'm straight as a board, so like there's that. So these Bible-believing Christians are saying that God is not masculine or feminine, and they don't understand why he chooses masculine titles or even why he established male headship, just that he did, and we must accept it. It is a mystery to them as to why God consistently reveals himself in the masculine sense. What if I were to tell you that God's identification as male in the Bible is not because of the misogynistic and patriarchal times the Bible is written in, nor is it a mystery we must accept? What if I were to tell you that understanding why God identifies as male can actually answer the greatest question any man or woman could ask, and that is, why am I here? That sounds like that's off the deep end. I mean, granted, that is the title. Why God's identification of male is the key to understanding life's meaning. But at the same time, that seems like a giant jump. Like, that how can God being identified as a male be the answer to life? Like, at that point, wouldn't it be equally like consistent to say that God's identification as the number 42 is the answer to life? It's why you're here. Like, I don't see how God being male or female has any bearing on that particular question. If God has a purpose for you, I'm sure that it doesn't matter if God has a deity dick or if God has a deity clit. Like, or whatever identity God might have. Again, not even based on biology. I don't understand how that has any bearing on that question. So, I guess we'll just continue. Recently, I received an email from one of my readers asking me to tackle the issue. She told me that she had people throwing verses at her that seemed to present God in a feminine sense. The people who gave her these verses claimed these passages proved God was both male and female, or that God split the attributes of his nature into male and female human beings, so that only together do man and woman represent the nature of God. Oh, of course, we're just going to throw that in here. We're going to throw in the anti-LGBTQ message as well. Your relationship isn't valid unless it's male and female. Apparently, according to author here. Yeah, we'll just throw that in. Woo. Jack says, I'm not going to lie, I struggle with pronouns. As the first part of my life I was Christian, later in half I was exposed. Any sort of gender diversity until about 36. But you freaking do it. I mean, I've struggled with it, and I still struggle with it. But at the same time, I also understand that struggling with it doesn't give you a card to be a dick, so most of the time I'll just go, if I accidentally misgender somebody, I'll just correct myself real quick and go, yeah, sorry. Because it's not something that's easy, especially like me. I grew up conservative Christian. So it's very much in my in all of my background that gendered pronouns aren't a thing. But at the same time, I've actually done research since then. So it's just a matter of habit forming. And again, it's a lot like, what's the best way to explain this? As somebody who grew up playing Pokemon, pronouns aren't really as hard as they could otherwise be, because if I've been calling my Pokemon Bulbasaur for so long, and then it evolved and I start calling it Ivysaur, that's really no different than just, getting somebody's gender pronoun right. It's really no different. And no, we don't, usually people, testing 1, 2, 3, usually people don't like using it. They would rather use they, because it makes you sound like you're an object, and it's actually an incredibly demeaning thing, whereas they can actually be both plural or singular. They usually works much better than something like it. Anarchy says, so God is transmission fluid then? Because he, she's their transmissions around the world. Oh my gosh. It is very dehumanizing. But they isn't. And then there are some people who like using Zer and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of using those. But there are some people who are. I think that they works just fine. Whatever works for you is fine as well. But, definitely not it. It's just demeaning. While writing a response to her concerns, I decided to look into a few conservative Christian sites. Of course, they had to be conservative Christian sites. To see their response to issues in comparison to my own. I found an article written by Tony Renick and on desiringgod.org called Our Mother Who Art in Heaven? ? In this article, he was reviewing the Shack movie, which came out in 2017. I decided that I would answer the reader's questions by reviewing this review. Oh boy. The reason is that while Renick was right in some of his condemnation of the gender fluid portrayal of God in The Shack, the problem is that he really did not go far enough into his explanation of why it was wrong. Oh, so the issue is that he was conservative, but he wasn't conservative enough for you. Okay, that's neat. In fact, he and John Piper are both wrong in their position on the nature of God as it relates to gender. Okay, so I think that this will more than answer the reader's questions and show that even in conservative Bible-believing circles, there's unfortunately a great degree of ignorance regarding the nature of God. Yeah, you got that right. You're demonstrating it real well. Very, very well. So, Rinke starts out his review with the following synopsis of The Shack. With the recent launch of the Shack movie, we are reminded of a whole mix of theological questions raised by the novel and the problems of projecting the divine onto a screen. You should probably go ahead while you're at it. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. You should probably get in contact with PureFlix. They have some issues with that as well. You might be able to help them out. One of the lead characters in the book, for example, is a woman named Papa who plays the role of God the Father, and her character reignites questions over divine identity and gender language. Why are there even questions about gender language? So, funny thing about etymology, when you do a cursory glance at the etymological history for certain words, you find that words don't have any fucking meaning at all. Words mean shit. Words have usage. Their usages change over time. If I use the word can, it means at least 2 to 3 different things. It can be an object. It can be a noun. It can be a verb. It can be part of a contraction. It is a multi-purpose word, as are most words in the English language. That word has no meaning. It just has a usage, and that usage applies where I choose to not use it. So, the fact that there's even a conversation about it is weird. Use the words you want. Just use the words you want. Don't get offended if other people don't adapt to it, but certainly be offended if people try to use it as a term of pointed language. For instance, if somebody misgenders you on accident, don't get offended. Most people don't. Although we have, a lot of Tumblr posts that say that they do, which is weird. But if you tell somebody firmly, hey, no, my gender identity is male, and they constantly call you female as a matter of spite, then of course, yes, get offended at that point. You have every right to. But anyway, the reason that I bring that up, I don't see how a God can get offended. How could a God who creates everything, who's all-powerful, how can they take offense to a human that's as little as an ant, that can actually do nothing to them? That sounds like the most petty type of God. The absolute most petty kind of God. I am neither male nor female, Papa itself discloses in the novel, even though both genders are derived from my nature. If I choose to appear to you as a man or woman, it is because I love you. For me to appear to you as a woman and suggest you call me Papa is simply to mix metaphors, to help keep you from falling so easily back into your religious conditioning. Yeah, there is a little bit of that here. There's a little bit of that. Some people see being corrected at all on gender pronouns is a trans person taking offense. Those people are stupid. I'll be honest. If you take offense to somebody correcting, it's the same thing as this is a wonderful thought experiment you can use on people that I've used in the past. So I tell you my name is Cirrus. Real name is Chris, but regardless, the name that most of you know me by is Cirrus. So I tell you my name is Cirrus, and then you say Peter. And then I respond by saying, no, my name is Cirrus. You don't get offended at that point because you got it wrong. You just accept the correction and move on. That's what we do with names. So the fact that it changes when we're talking about something like gender is really strange to me because I see no difference. Here's the thing. Gender is not about biology. Gender is about identity. A name is not about biology. A name is about identity. So at the end of the day, we're talking about a label that's used to identify somebody one way or another, either the name for an individual sense or the gender for their self-identification. But either way, it's a matter of identity. So why would people get offended over having to correct their own gender, or not their own gender, but having to correct themselves when referring to somebody's gender, when they don't get offended when they have to correct themselves when referring to somebody's name? They're both matters of identity, yet one seems to be more icky than the other for reason. And anarchy, I don't like I used to use the offenses taken, not given, but here's the thing. The offenses taken, not given only works if the person who said something did not intend offense. So, for instance, if I were to call, let's say that I have a friend who's black, and I specifically use a pejorative name for him, and only a pejorative name, and then I laugh at him when he gets offended by it, that doesn't work. Yes, offense was taken, but it was also given there because the intent was to offend, or the intent was to not care. So, yeah, there's the offense is taken, not given thing. It works in some circumstances, but as soon as the speaker has the intent to offend, then at that point it's a two-way street, not just a one-way street. That's just my take on it, though. So, now let's look at Reinke's response to the issue of God's nature in relation to gender. He starts off quoting the words of Christ and then John Piper. It is worth saying from the outset, in the words of Jesus, God is spirit. God is not a sexual being, nor is he a biological male. He is spirit from eternity, says John Piper. God has not had a physical body, and therefore he does not have male features, facial hair, musculature, male genitals, no Y chromosome, no male hormones. Male is a biological word. God is not a biological being. Half right. So, again, if we're talking about identity, then that's half right. Male can both be biological and identity. The distinction isn't that male is for biology and then there's a different word for identity. The distinction is that identity would be gender and that your sex would be the biology. So in here, it's more that God doesn't have a sex, but he might have a gender. If he's an agent, he has a gender of some kind, because that's just a matter of self-identification. And the fact that God is referred to in the Bible as male, yeah, sure, the identity might be that. But to say that that's the only interpretation, obviously somebody disagrees with you. Oh boy, two Christians disagreeing on the nature of God in the Bible. That's not new. Jack Fisher says, you miss Cyrus getting naked. Nope. The debate says the problem with the whole thing is, why am I supposed to care? It's 0.6 of the population. Yeah, it's 0.6 of the population, but the minute you meet one, all you have to do is meet one person. Like, it doesn't matter to me if, for instance, why should I care about Australian immigrants into the United States? They're only 1.2% of the population. Maybe I'm pulling that number out of my ass. Why should I care about them as individuals? Well, probably because of that word that was just used. They are, in fact, individuals. So, yeah. Like, should you care about it as a giant political deal? That's up to you. I don't personally care, although I do give my 2 cents where I can. That's why I have a channel. But as for saying that, oh, well, it doesn't matter because it only affects a small amount of the population, that line of argumentation doesn't work, because you can apply the veil of ignorance, and as soon as you apply the veil of ignorance, you find out why that doesn't work. I was talking to someone else on Usurus. Oops. So the veil of ignorance, for those who aren't aware, even though I've used it multiple times, the veil of ignorance says that any time that you have a position on something, whether it's writing a law or anything like that, go ahead and just pretend that you don't know what side of society you're born on. So you have an equal chance of being born into that 0.6% of the population as you do the other 99.4% of the population. If you give yourself an equal chance to be born in either, then suddenly it becomes really clear why you should care about the other. Just me. Just my thing there. But with that said, Seraphimide says, Australia doesn't exist. Not if you're a flat earther, no. But no, Banana Jr., I do believe you're right in that all references to God in the Bible are male. I believe that they are very intentionally male. My issue, though, is that this person thinks that apparently that distinction matters. I think that the distinction of God as male is arbitrary. Zine says, call me Sadie. I wish I could give more. $2.79, you know what? Even if it was only $1, even if it was only a penny, I would still be thankful for it. You give what you want. You give what you can. I am perfectly fine with anything. The fact that any of you think that it's worth giving any money to the channel at all is awesome. I don't care. I don't care if it's a lot. I don't care if it's a little. I'm obviously, more ecstatic about larger amounts because, human beings and food. But at the same time, just having anything there is great. Ocean says, oh, looky there. Nick's hello. So today, just so you're aware, we're talking about why God's identification as male is the key to understanding life's meaning. from the lovely Biblical Gender Roles website. Because apparently this matters. So what you've missed is a whole bunch of movie review stuff, apparently. Because that matters. Sir, also not if you're a time traveler going back from after the big 2017 accident with the SpaceX Star's rocket booster. Oh, did I just write that? Oh, boy. This The Naked But He Noticed Me almost makes up for it. Gendering things can lead to stupidities like, he's a male model, he's a male stripper. I know it's a male by the he, just say he's a model. Yeah, he's a stripper. That immediately fixes some of that. Okay, here's the first mistake in theology when it comes to John Piper, and that is repeated by Tony Renke. Male is not just a biological world. Male in the sense of male human beings describes set of both physical and psychological characteristics that are common in men. Here is a list of psychological differences between the typical man and the typical woman. Oh boy. Men are often systemizers and women are often empathizers. Men are logical and duty-driven while women are emotional and feelings-driven. Oh boy. Oh boy, Ben Shapiro would love that. We just got facts over feelings in a Biblical Gender Roles article. When he argues from nothing but his feelings. Oh boy. But yeah, it looks like the person does on some level recognize the difference. Men are physical, women are relational. Men are competitive, women are cooperative. Men are aggressive, and women are gentle. Again, he did use the word typical. And I'm okay with that, because if he's talking about typical, then sure, why not? No puking until we pull this thing over. Okay. I could go on with many more comparisons, but the fact is, there's more to male and female than just genitalia and chromosomes. Yes, you're right. Holy shit. Somebody got it right. And now let's wait for him to fuck it up. And before the transgender and gender fluid say, yeah, that's right, oh boy. I'm cis, by the way, and I'm saying that you were right in there. Let me help you here. In Genesis 1:27, the scriptures tell us that male and female created he them, and God makes the following declaration in the book of Deuteronomy: the woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Deuteronomy 22:5. King James Version, of course. Aaron says, Cirrus, I may be gentle, but I'm also very logical, as my certification can tell you. Clay Sarver says there's as much cultural aspects as anything else. True. What is considered normal for a male to do in some cultures is considered really abnormal in other cultures. What that means is, practically speaking, if you are born in a male vessel, as the Bible refers to our bodies, then you are required by God to dress and act as a male. Tell that to Chris Hansen from Bible History Skeptics, because he'll dress as a woman and do it all day if he wants to. Like, he'll wear makeup and do it all day if he wants to. That's his prerogative. Nobody cares. Pam dresses in male clothes all the time. In fact, actually, isn't there this like really awkward stereotype about like if you've got the really like sex-driven male who's conquered the female at the bar, and then they go home and then she's wearing the man's shirt afterwards. Like in the morning, she's wearing the man's shirt. It's supposed to be like, oh, look, there's your conquered flag type of... I'm not espousing that type of language, by the way. I'm just using that as the example. So that stereotype that's there, immediately, doesn't that go against this whole thing here? I mean, she's not supposed to be wearing man's clothes, right? But, you know, whatever. If you are born into a female vessel, then you are required by God to dress and act like a female. Except historically, men wear pantyhose. A lot of this stuff comes down to relativistic cultural issues, not actual, like... There's not a defined way the male is supposed to dress and a defined way the female is supposed to dress. That's entirely based up to society. Society determines what goes on there, and that's it. So the fact that there's considered a distinction there is weird to me. But... oh boy, my favorite. Let us continue. Let's continue into the madness. I saw that there was a notification on my Discord. I have no idea what it was. In other words, being cisgender is not just a privilege, as some call it today, but it is in fact a command by God. There's the part that made me want to do this article. Being cisgender is not just a privilege, but it is a commandment from God. Basically, if you identify as anything other than what you were born as, if you have any type of dysphoria, if you have any issue, anything outside of what this particular author considers the norm, it's Satan. Yeah, and Banana has a point there. If we talk about the difference between male and female, there are some innate general differences, but that has nothing to do with God. It's true. Like, what does any of this have to do with God? Bear in mind that in this guy's last article, he was bitching about the Gillette commercial. So, there's that. So, in this case, both sides are wrong. I know for sure that Renke and Piper both oppose transgenderism, but they are wrong in limiting male to simply a biological term. Male describes both biology and nature. Okay, you just change nature to identity, and that's fine. But you're all wrong here because you're all being fucking bigots. Anyway, Renke then goes on to list 26 passages where he says God's character and actions are revealed by feminine imagery. Let's take a look. As one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and ye shall be comforted in Jerusalem. I have a long time holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now I will cry like a traveling woman. I will destroy and devour at once. See, now I have a problem. Because it seems like these passages are all allegorical. They're not describing God as having those traits. They're allegory. So, like, I kind of agree with the author here. Not on anything fundamental, but on just, like, his issues with these being viewed as strictly feminine. They're basically just allegory. But, you know, that's just me. Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she would not have compassion on the son of her womb? Ye, they may forget, I will not forget thee. What do all of them have in common? They are all metaphors for behavior, not titles for God. I agree. I actually agree there. Renke acknowledges this when he states, but even taken together, the evidence does not warrant us praying to our mother who art in heaven, and then he gives 3 compelling reasons why. In his first, Renke states, in Scripture, we find many masculine titles for God, Lord, Father, King, Judge, Savior. What? Wait a minute. How are any of those masculine titles? How is Judge, Savior, Ruler, and Warrior? Can you have a female ruler? Yes. Can you have a female warrior? Yes. Can you have a female savior? Of course. Can you have a female judge? We have TV shows based on it. Those are not masculine titles. Shepherd, debatable. Probably not, though. Husband, yes, that's a masculine title. Even a handful of metaphorical masculine titles like rock, how is that masculine, unless you're talking about penis? Fortress. Isn't there like a really misogynistic metaphor for a vagina about how it's a castle or a temple and you have to defend it? Wouldn't that make this a female term? And shield. Okay. While feminine titles for God, queen, lady, mother, and daughter are never used. Ocean says my penis is a fortress. It's the tower. And this is the point I've made several times over in this blog. Every title for God in the Bible is a masculine title and never ever a feminine title. Seraphim is on points. Men's clothes have pockets. Thanks, Jack. If Ocean describes his penis as a fortress, I would not use that term. I would not. Well, let us continue. I also realize that I've had this set to top chat and not live chat because I'm an idiot. Carol has subscribed. Thank you for subscribing, Carol, if you're in the live stream. If not, then I'm talking into thin air. But that's okay. I've been talking into thin air this whole time. I just happened to get feedback. Okay. At this point, I've made several times in the... and this is the point I've made several times in this blog. Every title for God in the Bible is a masculine title and never, ever a feminine title. At least we agree there. His second point, in my opinion, is quite silly. He tries to show that with the incarnation of Christ and the biological maleness, that there's a sharp drop-off with the feminine metaphors of God. He seems to be saying that God became more male after Christ took on a male biological form. I mean no disrespect to him, but this argument is foolishness. The Trinity did not become more masculine because Christ took on a biological form, but rather Christ took on the form of a man because God always had masculine nature, and we will show that here in this article. Okay. Buffalopicus says, I've missed the last few broadcasts. It's okay. Ocean says, notice how he doesn't answer the question. Ocean says, how would you describe my penis? I would describe it as a hammer, just a relatively small hammer. Now that I've been so hard on Reki for his second point, I will give him some credit on his third point. For this... Ocean seems upset. You asked. Third, as theologian John Frame points out, it is not uncommon to see in Scripture's feminine imagery intentionally applied to men, as in 2 Samuel. This makes sense to us. We often speak in the feminine side of men today, meaning that men can and should display qualities often associated with women like gentleness. The Apostle Paul's anguish over the growth of his church was for him like the pain of birthing a child, and Paul's apostolic gentleness was something like the kindness and patience of a nursing mother. Paul's maleness is never brought into question by these female metaphors. Ocean's angry face. Nick says, Ocean, I don't think it's small. And now we know that Nix has seen Ocean's fortress. I mean penis. That's the only way that could possibly be found. Also, take the other implications from that as you will. Ball peen hammer. That's a fantastic point about the Apostle Paul comparing himself to a mother in his behavior several times. The point here is that just because I, the Apostle Paul, or God himself, uses a metaphor invoking the behavior of a woman, does not mean that we are saying that they are both male and female. It has nothing to do with our identity as men. But even on the third point, Reki makes a statement that needs correction. We often speak of the feminine side of men today, meaning that men can and should display qualities associated with women like gentleness. While I'm not against men being gentle when a situation warrants it, one of the worst parts of our modern society is the teaching that men should be more like women, and sadly, this is even taught in many of the churches today. Okay, we're starting to find issue. We're starting to find problem. All right. So, here's the issue here. Gentleness is not a female trait. Gentleness is just a trait. There's no gender to gentleness. For instance, I'm generally not that firm. I'm generally more gentle and even-handed. But I'm also straight, heterosexual, cis, male. Gentleness itself is not a female trait. The only people who think that it's a female trait are people who've been told by society that it is a female trait. All that would be required is that person grow up in a society where harshness and brashness is seen as a female trait and gentleness to be seen as a male trait, for them to say that no, gentleness is obviously a male trait, and they would give you a myriad of examples for it. Here's the problem. That has everything to do with society. If you have a society that says that men are X, then you're going to say that men are X, and obviously X is male. If society says that women are Y, you're going to say obviously women are Y, and Y is female. But that's not how things actually work. The way that you're told that they work in society doesn't mean shit. It means absolutely none. If you want a biologically feminine trait, then you're going to have to go down to one of the 5 things that we use for determining whether or not we're going to call something biologically male or female. So we're going to look at something like phenotype. We're going to look at something like chromosomal structure. We're going to look at a lot of things like ability to produce sperm or egg. We're going to look at those things for determining, because those are traits that are actually assigned. Not assigned, but those are traits that actually can be given male or female in their title. But you can't say that something like gentleness or aggressiveness is male or female. How is that a gendered title? The only way that you could even assume that that's a gender title is if society around you told you that that was the case. And Anarchy says this is clearly the penis fortress chat for today. A good man is hard to find. Nay, a hard man is good to find. To be fair, there are evolutionary bases for males being more aggressive and females being more nurturing. True, there are evolutionary advantages to that being the case. But the thing is that if you want to enslave yourself to that, then, that's on you. But I don't have to, and I don't see why anybody else has to as well. We recognize now that even though those traits might be seen more in one sex or another, it does not gender those traits. Runkey concludes his review with the following statement from John Piper on the subject. Everything created in woman that sets her off from the man comes from God and reflects smashing of him. Jack Fisher says, say, I'm not that firm again. I'm dying. I'm not that firm. There. Better? Piper stresses this. Woman was not modeled after some other god. There is no other god. She was modeled after God. I can hear the polytheist freaking out. I can definitely hear it. When the Bible says she and he were created in the image of God, it means she is also made after the model of her creator. That is a burp. That is a burp on stream. How come on the show right the fuck now? You know what, Ocean? You know what? Here. Let's do a thing. I've sent you a call, sir. Check your Discord. In an ideal world, you should be able to be heard as soon as you get on. You should totally do that. Till then, I'll continue. Where the frick was I? It means that she is also made after the model of her creator. So it is important to say that in his essential divine being, not referring to his incarnate union with humanity, but this is essential divine essence. God is not male. God is not female. Maleness and femaleness of God's are of God's creations and biological bearers of masculinity and femininity, both of which are rooted in God. Ask Pastor John. I don't want to ask Pastor John. So Ocean, how are you doing today?
I'm fuck. I'm doing all right.
You're fuck.
I'm fuck. What the All right. So I'm like listening to what you're saying, and it's weird how Christians do this, where they've got to like reframe all of this crap. Oh God, now I'm dying.
No,
okay, there's
not doing that.
That
not
is
doing
terrible.
that.
Don't do that. All right. So, everybody knows, Surus just attacked my computer.
So I tried to
do
a
fucking seizure.
I tried to do screen share with Ocean so that he'd be able to actually see the
I'm
article.
just watching the video. I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need this showing up in two places on my screen.
So wait, I have a question. This is just something that just comes from like let's assume that monotheism is true for like half a minute. No, trust me. Let's assume if I can assume polytheism is okay for half of this shit, I can assume monotheism is okay for like 30 seconds. Okay.
I'll put up with it.
So let's assume monotheism is true for half a second. Okay, so this author has specifically said that there are male traits and female traits, right? This author has also said that all the female traits and all the male traits come from God, and he's not okay with gendering God in the female. He wants to only ever gender God in the male. Am I correct so far?
So where are we grounding feminine traits?
Exactly. Where are the feminine traits coming from? Wouldn't that just make God non-binary at this point? It either makes God non-binary, or it makes it to where none of the traits are actually gendered at all, because they can't come otherwise.
So, okay, I want to try and like understand a little bit of this as far as the argument is going. He's saying that it's important that God be considered male for reasons.
Yes.
I guess for leadership or something like that, because he assigns leadership.
Oh, he hasn't given leadership actually.
Well, I mean,
yet.
Okay, so he may get to that at some point, but so the ultimate problem that I have is that he's saying that it's important that we identify God as male. All these traits are grounded in God, and yet it seems that according to his argument, that with masculine traits being grounded in God, there needs to be some kind of feminine trait grounding deity of some kind, which which, if you go back into early Judea, there was such an entity. So with Christians just deleted it as it went on, with the cult of Yahweh slowly taking over Judea. But I don't. This is where I get frustrated, is when they use this logic to try and justify monotheism, when their argument is going for at least duotheism. Like they're going for like a divine mother and father kind of setup here. Well, but and there's all these things about like God being God creating humanity in His image, God God creates, but with humans there's a union between two in order to create, and yet God doesn't do that, but He created man in His image.
So where did the female come from?
There's a disconnect here about like how humans create versus how God creates. And if we're in His image, then there's a serious problem, just like in trying to make this argument, which He's doing halfway. He's just deleting the justification for a feminine deity in the process of it, which is annoying to listen to.
I can imagine that through most of this, like as I'm reading his article, you're just screaming from your end of the computer.
There was a pretty constant noise of yelling. Barring the whole like penis as a fortress conversation.
That was a great conversation.
That was interesting.
You've actually seen Dr. Horrible sing-along blog, correct?
I have. I was forced to watch it.
You were forced to watch it?
I was forced, yes.
Nope, the hammer is your penis.
I don't recall that part. This was like 2 years ago.
Okay, there's a part in it where the hero steals the villain's girlfriend and then just goes. His name is like something Hammer. I can't remember. It's been a while. And he's just like, I'm gonna give her the hammer tonight. He goes off screen. Then he just comes back on screen for a second and goes, "The hammer is my penis," and then runs away.
He's played by that one guy.
The one guy that Joss Whedon always gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Destiny as well.
Yeah, he's in the Cult of Whedon.
What's his fucking name?
I don't remember, but I'm 90% certain that the chat will know, and they'll be able to let us know here in a bit. There's 115 of them. There's got to be at least one Firefly fan in there.
God damn it! What's this?
Nathan Fillion?
This person's voice. Nathan Fillion. That's him. Yeah, I just looked it up and found he plays Cade 6 in Destiny. That's the part that I've watched the most that has him in it. I don't watch a lot of Joss Whedon stuff, so.
You are not yet a member of the cult.
Well, no, so everything that Joss Whedon has made has been something that I've had to be forced to watch. Like there was a girl I was dating that was like, no, we're watching Buffy, so I watched a little bit of Buffy, but I don't think Nathan Fillion was in that at least much, if he was. And then I was forced to watch Dr. Horrible. And I was just like, it's like, I don't know, it's a weird kind of comedy that it just doesn't jive with me for whatever reason.
Fair enough.
I enjoy it while I'm watching it, I guess, but it's more like, it's not something I would elect to watch on my own.
Dr. Horrible's
anyway,
sing-along blog is...
gender roles.
We were currently talking about something much more entertaining than biblical gender roles, and I was okay with that for a minute.
Yeah, that was cool, but you know. All right. We had verses on the screen.
Isn't this website just wonderful?
I'm gonna have to take off soon. By the way, I've got like 20 minutes. Maybe.
That's perfectly fine. You were here just to bitch about the.
I just was here to yell about stupid stuff. I love how when I'm on here with you though, that the chat gets excited and like they think that we're like a buddy cop film.
I mean, we kind of are.
It's kind of true. All right. Votes at the chat. Should we do like a Sirius and Ocean buddy cop series?
Oh my god!
Which we're like going into churches and sitting down together and making faces. Anyway.
Okay. We also have Jack Fisher. You're losing the crowd, big puddle. That's fine. If there's any series that can lose the crowd, it's biblical gender roles.
I've been getting all these weird nicknames like Sea Daddy and Big Puddle, which all started with somebody called me Big Puddle, and I was like, I like it when you call me Big Puddle, and it just stuck, and I'm mad about it.
You know the best thing about Ocean, the deeper you get, the more pressure there is.
Oh God. Oh. Oh.
You okay?
Oh. Why did I come on this show?
I don't know.
Why
I don't
did this
know.
why did I know? This was
You
a
know
terrible
me.
idea.
You know me well enough to know that this is what's going to happen. How is this news?
Oh. Oh. Big puddle gets me wet. Sea daddy,
big
ocean
sticky
daddy.
puddle.
Why do people calling me these weird things?
You took the
Third
name
show.
Ocean.
That's true. That's true.
If I have to deal with seriously puns, you get to deal with water puns.
That's all right. It's all right, cool.
Yeah, at least water puns are
funny thing is my
adaptive.
name
They're
is
kind of
Ocean.
fluid.
And my comedy is mostly dry. But oh well. Anyway. What did
All
you
right.
just do?
That was me clapping. I know it sounded like something else.
It did. I was a little concerned.
No, there's a series that I watch on League of Legends, and there's this like really dumb Riven that just always goes every time something stupid happens.
Please don't make that sound off screen.
Please don't make that sound off screen.
It
Hold
was
on.
hidden by your
Just-
pop filter, and it just no, never again.
Too bad. If I have to deal with Rule 63, 34, and freaking 88 being drawn of me, you get to deal with anything.
This is just not okay.
No, it's the internet. You'll be okay. Don't worry.
No, what's going to be really bad is when people Rule 34 us.
That's probably already happened.
That's
It's just somewhere on DeviantArts. I'm fairly certain it's there somewhere. Somewhere.
going on?
Okay. There are many false statements made here by Piper and repeated by Renke. But before I show why they're false, I need to show you a passage of scripture that is not mentioned in this review. Of course, there's a passage of scripture not mentioned in the review. Have you seen how big the fucking book is? For a man indeed ought not cover his head. Oh, we get the argument for hijab. Awesome. For a man indeed not ought cover his head, for as much as he is the image of glory of God, but the woman is the glory of man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. Okay. There's your justification, by the way, from biblical gender roles, that women are made for men to be used. That's also your justification for hijab. So this argument is actually pro-Islam from the conservative Christian side.
I mean, Islam took a lot of Christian arguments and
And
just
ran with
went
them.
balls to the wall with them. Yeah.
No, they did. I just like pointing out whenever there's an article in the Bible that just supports a practice.
Yeah, this supports the hijab.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
this is
supports
what
a practice
it
that they normally
supports-
say is bad.
This is what's used to support the nun's habit. So, I mean, yeah, what's the difference between a habit and a hijab? There's very little difference except one is
Religion?
for specifically devotees. Well, I mean, it goes beyond just religion. The habit is for specifically devotees, and then the hijab is for women generally.
Yeah.
But there is a version, like a medieval version of the habit that was worn by women generally, and that you see pop up. It's more like the ancestor of the habit is also the ancestor for the hijab because it's from a similar area. So,
Yep.
whatever.
I think it just all
I mean,
comes down
really,
to a matter of history.
It's useful to wear stuff like that in desert societies. So
Well, it's just like how the shellfish ban in the Bible is just because there was a time where like it was literally like all that shellfish was diseased, and it was bad to eat.
yeah, well, you couldn't get it to like Jerusalem was put in a weird place because it's like it's just far enough from the coast. You know, it's like there's a shoreline with the Mediterranean Sea like just over there, but they didn't put the city next, so it wasn't a port city. It was just an inland village, and
And they didn't
Why-
have refrigeration.
right. So what do you do when you catch a bunch of shellfish? Well, you got to transport it overland for a few days before you get to Jerusalem and sell things at market. And when you don't have proper refrigeration, I mean, you can't transport ice. What happens to all your shellfish? It becomes fucking poisonous.
Yep.
So, you know, if I believe if Jerusalem was a port city, then shellfish would probably be fine, but it wasn't.
Nope, it be a desert town.
It's like, don't order oysters in Kansas, guys. Raw oysters. Don't order them in Kansas. It's just a bad idea.
No,
But if you're in Florida, raw oysters are fine.
Yeah, if you're in Florida, there's several restaurants that'll fish them off the pier and just give them to you from the water. Like, that's just how that works.
Yeah, the shellfish thing even applies to today. If you're in an inland city, I mean, it's bigger now because of refrigeration, but if you're in an inland city, it's not the wisest thing in the world to order raw oysters.
Let's see. So the word man in Corinthians 11:7 is a translation of the Greek word aner, which literally means male human being. Wait, so it's a... Okay. That's kind of redundant, but that's fine. While woman is a translation of the word gune, which literally means female human being. Throughout the New Testament, aner is translated as man, men, or husband. Hold on. Wait a second. Okay, yeah, no, I see the distinction. Depending on the context it is used, and gune is translated as woman or wife, depending on the context it's used in. I was about to bring up an objection about how the word male actually translates into young boy, but that wasn't brought up in here, so that's fine. That's fine.
So what I'm seeing is that he's saying, well, in this language, they had different words for things that they distinguished.
You mean like every other language?
Right.
Like,
right. Let's let him continue at this point.
like in this language, male meant man and man meant male. And like, oh, okay, that's what a fucking coinkydink.
Excellent. Cool. Let's hear what the rest he has to say.
What this passage is saying is that the male human being is the image of God. Wait, what? How did you get that from that? How did you get that?
I think that from the passage, not from the words. For the above passage where it's saying that man is the glory of God and woman is the glory of man.
The image and
That's
glory
why
of
she's
God.
covering their head. Yeah. Like yours are saying the verse is fine. Like it's justifying Islam as well as Christianity as far as how it, like what it's justifying. You were saying like it justifies the hijab, but the reason why it justifies the hijab is because it acknowledges women as being the lesser of the two. Right?
In fact, the above passage gives the very reason for which God, man, and woman. Wait. In fact, the passage above gives the very reason for which God, man, and woman. Wait. That's not a sentence.
In fact, the passage gives the very reason for which God, man, and... Oh, that's definitely a typo. I think that the word created needs to be in there.
It needs to be in there in some way, shape, or form.
God created man and woman.
But until then, this passage is missing a verb. It's missing a verb bad. It's got a verb, but it doesn't have a verb for the proper noun.
It's just saying that God mans and womans. Like you can have.
Wait, if God mans and womans, then
right? Don't do it.
Wouldn't that undermine his entire article?
Just yeah, it would.
He created man to image him and thereby bring him glory, and created woman to be the glory of man.
Mm-hmm.
The Old Testament tells us that God created the woman and the man created the woman for the man as a helper. I can't tell when it's a typo or when it's me fucking up. And it also tells us that a woman is to be her husband's crown or glory. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna make sure to take that.
This is a justification for trophy wives.
I was actually gonna say that this is a good reason for the wife to sit on the face of the husband.
Oh God!
And be the crown.
No, Boris.
Nah,
you can't do that.
But I can, and I did.
Fuck.
I think I broke Ocean, guys.
Fuck.
I think I broke Ocean.
Oh.
I don't take the biblical gender roles site seriously as I should anymore. At this point, I just recognize that I'm walking into Poe's law.
We need to play some Monty Python.
We really do.
Sit on my face. kiss and tell me that you love me.
The New Testament goes further into man's imaging duties and tells us that for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. All these scriptural passages and many more confirm for us why God refers to himself in the masculine sense in the scriptures. It is because the masculine human being is the one who is the image bearer. Actually, that sounds like a giant circular argument to me.
Well, it's Christianity.
I mean, triangular argument then?
Hold on a second. So the new all scriptures, passages, and many more. God refers to himself in the masculine. It's because the masculine being is the one. Yeah, this is. I mean, it is circular. What's going on is
it's literally just saying that God made man to image him because God made man to image him because man images God.
He's using the consequence in order to justify the premise.
Arguing from the consequence.
The word affirming the consequence come into my head, but I don't know if that's technically what's happening. I think that what's going on is it's just circular justification, because he's using the conclusion in order to justify the premise,
which you can't do. The premise, the premises have to be consistent in order to lead to your conclusion.
We can disagree on the premise, but if his only support for the premise is the conclusion in which you have to assume the premise in order to reach, then it's just masturbatory.
But see, masturbation's wrong. This is biblical gender roles. I guarantee you.
Then he needs to stop doing that.
I guarantee you that I'll find for the 6th episode, I'll find one where he says that masturbation's wrong and should never be used ever, and that it's the woman's duty to always.
I think that
break.
Clearly, I'm Jordan Petersoning the word masturbation here. It's a metaphorical masturbation.
You're not Jordan Petersoning it well enough. You're not Kermit the Frog quite yet.
But listen, if you just masturbate the argument, make the argument masturbate, it will become true.
If you just
someone just said that.
God damn it! I see that.
This is not a good idea.
That's bad.
Stop, you people. We love you, but damn it.
we love you, but we do not love each other.
Oh my goodness. Well, the sexual repression is now coming out into the chat. Your entire channel is viewed by deviants.
Yes.
There's nothing but deviants in this group.
Have you not seen my fan art section? Yes.
Oh my, yeah, it's true.
You're 100% wrong. I'm fairly certain that the Rule 63 picture of me that was done by I can't remember the name right now.
The one that I shared?
The one that you shared, yes.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that
was a
picture,
photograph of you.
But I'm fairly certain that picture has been fapped to at least once by somebody on the internet.
I'm scared.
And for those who are lacking context for whatever reason, the picture that I am referring to is, of course, this one. I'm fairly certain somebody has fapped to that at least once on the internet, because this is the internet.
Oh, no, that's not the one that I shared.
Which one did you share?
Oh, I shared the other one that had you going, like, think openly or whatever.
The nightmarishly cute one?
No, but yeah, the nightmarishly cute one. This one, I could see somebody fapping to. Yeah, that one. That's the one that I shared. Yeah.
Nick says that they've put it in fan art. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm going to have to check my fan art section.
I'm scared.
Hold on. I have to make Discord a little smaller so it can be seen. There we are. Hold on. Let's get this just a little smaller. There we go. Sexy time. My penis is a fortress. The hammer is my penis. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my jeez. I don't get embarrassed as much on the internet anymore as I used to. I'll be honest.
At least that's a big wave there, buddy.
That is a big wave. The wave is big. It's just the hammer that's small.
The chat's going like, this is going to get demonetized.
Oh, it's
That's
totally
probably
going to get
true.
demonetized.
This is bad.
There's-
I don't know why. What are we doing?
This is supposed to be about biblical gender roles, but apparently it just became about a fucking bromance like the minute you came on.
I don't know. We should just abscond together.
I guess I'm just gonna have to like head down south and like get a second vehicle from you or something. Oh wait,
Yeah, that's happening.
yeah,
It's a thing. For those who don't know, I'm selling Cirrus a car.
yeah, because we have only one vehicle and Pam is using it for delivering pizzas right now. So currently, I'm just kind of here. Granted, I don't really have to go anywhere. This is my job, but still, it's the biblical gender roles between you and your hammer. Ronald, is it weird that I'm fapping now?
No,
It's not.
no, it's
Welcome
not.
to
That
the
was the
internet.
intended result.
Oh my god. How much more of this article is there? Oh dear. Oh dear. I have a feeling that I should just go to the conclusion at this point. Because everything else that could possibly come from this is just... all the best parts are already done. Let's see what his conclusions are. I'm curious. Conclusion. God using feminine metaphors to picture his behavior or feelings no more makes him female in his nature than the Apostle Paul using female metaphors in his behavior makes him female in this. Well, yes, that's true, but we've also pointed out that the way you're arguing this basically says that any of those traits that you're talking about can't be gendered the way that you think they can. So, that's fine.
Using feminine metaphors.
Are you okay?
I'm just trying to read this.
There is no conflict in saying that God is spirit, and yet God has always possessed a masculine nature, even before the incarnation of Christ. God did not become more masculine after Christ took the form of a man, but rather Christ took on the form of a man because God was always masculine. Okay, cool. You're basically just saying, my God's a dude? He's really a dude, guys. I promise you, my God's a dude.
Now, here's a good question.
Sure.
Could God have manifested as a woman? And if not,
Why?
is he omnipotent?
Ooh. Is God truly omnipotent if he could not manifest as a woman?
Right. If there's no way that God could have a vagina. you know,
And the answer to that would be he can only do that with which is within his nature, and being male is apparently with that which
Right,
which
but
is
then-
within his nature.
then the omnipotent beard argument comes in. That my beard only does that which is within its nature. It grows, right?
Therefore, you have
So
an
my-
omnipotent beard.
Therefore, my beard is omnipotent. My beard does everything that is logically possible within its nature.
There's actually there was a conversation that I had with Pastor Wilson on Atheist Edge recently, because apparently that's a lovely conversation to be had. This was like 2 days ago, something like that. And he said that the reason why the true Church of Christ didn't come into being until recently was because God waited until there was a society that gave religious freedom the same way the United States does, so that he could bring his true church into there. And I was just like, wait, so you're saying that your God is so weak and small that he has to wait on legislation from a single sovereign country in order to enter?
God's testing the country, I guess, or whatever.
No, he just said that he was...
Christians reframe all of this shit as make their God all powerful but still not able to do anything. Like
Yeah.
it's a thing that they do. I've really given up on arguing that case with them, where it's just like, all right, well, they believe that their God is unlimited and yet has all these limitations. Fine, whatever. It's
Why ought we call it God then?
Well, it creates a situation in which they are able to, like, okay, so we can agree that a lot of God arguments wind up having the criticism of being ad hoc. Honestly, this applies to atheistic arguments as well.
Hmm.
The problem, though, is that with the Christian deity, they make this claim that he is omnipotent and able to do everything. Yet, when you start actually putting questions to that claim and making conclusions, well, if he is, then this would happen. And it's not the case that this happens. Therefore, God is not omnipotent. They just make an ad hoc adjustment to their position that makes it so that God is still omnipotent, yet doesn't do anything that would show that he's omnipotent.
This is the same thing you
As-
get with like your
which
younger
makes me wonder
creationism
why they
arguments.
think he's omnipotent. Like if there's no actual, like when you get into experience arguments for God, the argument for omnipotence is purely logical and has no grounding in actual spiritual experience, even of Christians. So why do they believe it?
Because of the Bible.
Like there's even scripture that goes against it. There's a sacrifice that takes place in the Old Testament of the king of Moab sacrifices to their polytheistic god, and it overturns a prophecy. It's in Kings, I think. So their
they
god
also
is
have an
stopped
all-powerful
by another
God.
deity, but he's all powerful.
You don't even need another deity. You have an all-powerful God who was stopped by a series of iron chariots.
I thought there was a mud. No, what Iron Chariots?
Yes, God was not able to fight a particular army because they had iron chariots.
Oh, because they had Iron Chariots. Yeah.
It's a very weak
I
God.
thought the chariot thing that I recall is that God makes it rain and all the chariots get stuck in the mud, but that's a different story, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe those were wood chariots. But I get really frustrated with the whole like God is omnipotent, but that's not what the Old Testament implies. God seems to have serious limitations in the Old Testament. He gets angry, he gets upset. There's prophecies that he tells that wind up being overturned by human action or by the action of other deities. And that just doesn't imply an omnipotent deity. That just implies another God, which means that they should be polytheists.
Nope.
It doesn't, I don't know. I get annoyed by that.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one that gets annoyed when somebody says the Bible means this, and I'm just like, okay, but like if you actually read the damn thing.
I don't know what the justification for the omni God is in Christianity.
Because their God is bigger, better, and has to be.
But it goes against the Bible and it goes against any experience argument.
It would, but none of the. So remember that apologetics only matter, and I've heard this from some Christians, and I don't like this argument. That certain apologetics arguments only matter to certain individuals, and I'm like, no, if the argument was like universally good, then it would be accepted by everybody, but it's not.
God damn. Like, the guy that I brought in here one time, that is an open theist, like he believes that God has certain limitations, and he also believes that there are other. He calls them demons, but for lack of a better term, they would be other deities.
What is the distinction between a demon and a god?
There isn't one.
What is the distinction between a god and a titan?
Titans are older, I think, older and more powerful. If you want to go like into the,
I would say the distinction
Greek.
is the distinction is just the narrative at that point. Then,
well, yeah, the distinction would be the narrative between but when you get in between titans or Jotuns and gods, the distinction is attitude towards humanity. Titans and Jotuns are not interested or even malicious to humanity, whereas gods are interested in the goings-ons of humanity. That's the delineation. But that's a polytheist delineation. It's not a Christian one.
and yet, we live in a world where it's used.
Right. I mean, but demons, the difference between demons and gods would be allegiance to their god, in that they stand in opposition to and are also malicious towards humanity. So that's the delineation. It's purely narrative. It doesn't have anything to do with experience or power or anything else like that. It's demon is the word that's used in order to fit their narrative, whereas God is one that's used to fit all the other narratives.
Whereas if by some chance the demons were to win and write the history, then they would be the gods and Yahweh would be the
gods. Right.
Yeah. That's why
Which
that
you have
distinction is
certain
stupid
forms
to me.
of Christianity that actually agree to that. You get into some forms of Gnosticism in which there's 12 gods, and the creator is the demiurge, which is the malicious being.
Pure Ostentation says that demons know how to have fun, and I think that's actually probably more true than it should be. 'Cause let's be honest, Yahweh doesn't know how to have fun.
Yeah, because Yahweh is masculine, demons are feminine, and girls just know how to have fun.
God damn it! I'm gonna beat you with this.
Girls
find
just wanna have fun.
I'm gonna find you, and I'm going to hit you with this, and I don't know when I'm going to stop.
I'll put myself back together and I'll be back on Hammered Out later, guys.
All right, Humpty Dumpty. You know what they said about all the king's horses and all the king's men, right?
Well, they couldn't do it, but maybe they shouldn't have given the horses the first go at it.
This is fair. This is fair. Oh my gosh. Nick says, but the hammer is your penis. Well, things just got weird. No, they haven't. They've been weird. They've been weird this whole time. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. Anyway, to women reading this, the truth that you were made for man and not to image God does not mean that God loves you any less than man. Yes, it does. The lie that you are taught in America is that Western civilization is that equality equals humanity. That's not a lie. That's literally demonstrably true. We are told that if we embrace the truth of God's word, that woman was not made in God's image, that we are saying that women are less human than men and less valuable to God. This is false. God loves men and women equally, and men and women are equally saved by Christ and can both become a part of the body of Christ. No, that's saying that that men and women can serve Christ equally. That doesn't say that they are in fact equal. An employee and a slave can both serve a master equally, but the employee is viewed as more of a human than the slave is. This argument doesn't work. In no way, shape, or form does it work.
I told you embrace.
There's neither.
I don't know. I feel like I have to read this guy's. I'm so far away from Christianity right now that every time I read a Christian argument, I have to reframe my thought. It's a conscious effort to go back into Christianity and be like, how does this work? Women are less human than men and less valuable. God loves them equally. They're equally saved by Christ. Well, I mean, both could be true.
Yes, but again, the fact that he's
saying it's false. He can be less valuable and still equally loved.
Yeah,
or human or women can be or whatever the fuck. It's still
just replace male with employee, replace female with slave, and you see the problem in the argument.
I love my employees and slaves equally.
Yes.
I just treat them differently.
Yes.
And that's what God does.
Yes,
here
and that's the
in
fucking
the Bible.
problem.
And you can say that the women are less valuable to God, but he still loves them equally. I don't see a problem with saying that.
I mean, I can see a problem with saying that because it makes you a scumbag.
Well, of course.
Yeah, that is the problem.
If you want to get into an external examination of it, I'm just looking at this internally and being like, so from the Christian perspective,
the Christian
with
perspective
the justifications
is
that he's
bullshit,
made,
then.
You can have women be less valuable and still be loved the same way.
Yeah,
or the same amount, or whatever.
And that's fine. My issue is
God
pointing
can only love in a way that is infinite, right? So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, my point though is that when you're looking at it internally, you can accept some of those inconsistencies and say that it's fine. But if you look at it externally, you see how it's a scummy argument.
It's not that they're inconsistencies. It's just that it's shitty.
Yeah, it's
so when you look at it from the outside, you're like, well, that's shitty. When you look at it from the inside, it's like, well, that's just the shittiness is just the reality of it.
Yeah, I mean that generally happens when you have somebody who's thoroughly indoctrinated by dogma. Usually, the indoctrination in dogma seems like it's correct.
Right.
It's almost like that was our first episode for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of conversations about religion kind of fall back into that conversation about dogmatism and orthodoxy. How much of this is left? I got to take off.
There is about 4 paragraphs.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you close it out on your own, buddy.
Gotcha.
That was a bit of a mess.
This whole thing is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. See you.
Well, good luck, man. I appreciated coming on. This is fun.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Later. Bye.
All right. Well, since we had a interesting conversation there, and apparently the entire chat has turned from focusing on the article at hand, and instead it's talking about Rule 34 between me and Ocean, I'm just going to accept that that is how things work. I'm on the internet. This is how things are. I'm fine. Whatevs. Doesn't matter to me. Let's go ahead and continue. There's neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither bond nor free. There's neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. Likewise, ye husbands, Dwell with them according to knowledge given unto the wife and unto the weaker vessel, as being heirs together and grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. The male and female, like marriage itself, is for this world, and at the time Scriptures tell us that for the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as angels and God in heaven. So why does any of this fucking matter then? Oceans away, go where you may, love be with you. Oceans away. But in this world and in this life, God has made male and female. If we are born in a male vessel, then our life's mission is to be the image bearer of God. We are to display his masculine attributes throughout our life. If we are born in a woman's vessel, then we are called to dedicate to our life serving a person in a male vessel in marriage. This service of the female vessel to the male vessel was designed by God to picture the relationship between himself and his people. This is the reason that I have issue with this. If you have a personality of any kind, and you are told that you're a female, as an example, you identify it, you're biologically it, whatever. We'll just say you're cisgendered female. Cool. Now that we're here, you are told you need to act a certain way. But you happen to act this way. So you happen to act more like a tomboy. This person over here is going to tell you that you must act in accordance with what they consider female traits to be. If you do not possess any of those traits, but you're told to emulate them, you're no longer being yourself. Sarah says, I do not think that there is a healthy amount of biblical gender roles to read and debate. Every line is frustrating, exhausting, and vile. Yeah, pretty much. Even the stuff that I agree with in here is bothersome. And finally, the last one. And what I have just described answers the most important question that we as human beings can ever ask, and that is, why am I here? It is if we not only accept that God identifies as male, but accept why he identifies as male, and that we as men and women can know the meaning of life. But if we do, as so much of the world today does, and reject the fact that God identifies as male, and why he identifies as male, then we reject our very purpose in being here. None of that logically follows. That argument is just a fucking handful of non sequiturs just shoved together for the purpose of shoving them together. I don't see anything that comes from that except non sequitur. Why are you here? Oh, because God is male. No. God's identity is not why I'm here. Well, you'll know why you're here if you accept that God is male. Okay, cool. I accept that God is male in the Christian sense. That still doesn't answer the fucking question. Oh, well, you're here to image him. Okay, well, what does that mean? It's still vacuous. It doesn't answer shit. Moreover, you can image, because that's the word this guy uses all the time. It's cringy as fuck. But you can image God if God's female. Why would that change anything? It doesn't. The only reason that it changes anything for this person, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say, because they would be very uncomfortable with the idea of a God that has a vagina. That would make them feel small. That's what that says to me. That's what that says to me, personally. I think this person is just scared to have a woman as a leader of any kind. And so if the God has the potential to be a woman, that's a problem. To him. But I don't have an issue with that. I don't think anybody should have an issue with that. Because a female is as much a human as a male, and to say that they are not is to dehumanize them. So, no. You need to go all over the Bible to find the answer to your purpose. That's why it takes a lot of space discussing gender roles. Does this sort of boys equals trucks, girls equals Barbies really still hold sway? I don't hang out with a lot of nuclear families, so I'm still hopeful that it's a steadily fading reality. It really is a fading reality. For instance, you've got guys, I would argue that you've probably got more guys nowadays that are fans of My Little Pony than there are girls. Because, thankfully, Lauren Faust is a wonderful, wonderful writer. And is able to actually make shows that look like they are gendered towards one, but appeal towards the other. Powerpuff Girls is another good example of this. Again, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, not a really great example of this, but still another good Lauren Faust production, if memory serves. These are all things that person has done that look like they might be more akin to, like, I remember when I was a kid, as a guy, I really loved the Powerpuff Girls, and I thought that that was a bad thing for some reason, even though, like, literally every other guy friend that I had also loved the Powerpuff Girls. Steven Universe is a good example as well. Steven Universe has near universal appeal. Ha, lol, joke. Steven Universe is a show that appeals to not just people who identify as cis male and cis female, but also people who find themselves in between. I mean, the gems are non-binary and only work with an identity. They don't actually have a sex. That automatically includes that group of people. Most of the relationships shown in that show are LGBTQ styled relationships. And it doesn't just have good relationships. There's also toxic relationships in that show. So you have these shows that do show that the boys equals trucks and the girls equals Barbies argument doesn't necessarily work. And honestly, I hate hypermasculine shows and I hate hyperfeminine shows. I prefer a show that just has characters that happen to be what they are. Like even Dragon Ball Z, something that people say is hypermasculine, go through the show. Go through the show. Who broke Vegeta's arm? Who was the person to humiliate Vegeta the most? Well, let's see here. 1, extremely effeminate alien, and 2, a female. Those are the 2 people to humiliate Vegeta the most throughout his entire career. Not counting Goku, of course. Go through and watch Dragon Ball Super. Some of the biggest challenges are the female characters in that show. Look at Kale and Caulifla, regardless of what your opinion on those 2 might be. So, again, no, this idea that... And then Bulma's also a really good example as well. Half the shit that they're able to accomplish in that show could not be done without Bulma literally making damn sure that everybody is able to do what they need to do. So, again, even a show like that is considered ridiculously male-oriented is still not. And it's still good even despite that. So, anyway... Jack says, I wasn't interested in checking out Steven Universe, but after that song, oh boy. But, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope that this wasn't as egregious as a Biblical Gender Roles episode as usual. This wasn't quite the same type of dip into insanity that we normally go into. So the next time that we cover them, I promise I will try to make sure that we have a little more insanity. And Riley says that, yes, Bulma isn't great because she's female. She's great because she's Bulma. No, I agree 100%. There's no part in that show, for the most part, that it's that it even pulls mention to the fact that, oh, Bulma, you're really smart for a girl, or you're really good for a girl. The most that's really done is in Dragon Ball. There was that whole part where Goku's like, what, you don't have a penis? That's like the most they ever did with the Bulma is a girl deal. And also, obviously, like gags with Master Roshi. But she's never given significance because she's a woman specifically. And that's a good thing. And that's a show from the 80s. Like, that's before a lot of the more progressive culture started to latch on to stuff like this. So, anywho. Nick says, sorry for the fan art, it was a joke. Oh, no, go, by all means. By all means. I have no issue with it. It was great, and it was really, really interesting. Dragon Ball, actually, male proponents are some of the stupidest, so, I mean, yeah. Yeah, usually speaking, the males are not as smart. But if you guys enjoyed the episode, go ahead and make sure to hit the like button and let me know in the comment section below. Go ahead and share with your friends if you want to. That's a thing you can do as well. That said, I'm going to hop off and continue the rest of my workday. Banana Jr. says, don't ever sing again. It depends. It depends. If somebody's paying me $50 to sing, then you're going to have to suffer. Because if I have to suffer through singing, you get to suffer through listening.